The Nintendo Switch 2 has been out for a year now, and everybody's been talking about it, so I figured, well, I'll throw my hat into the ring. And yeah, this is just going to be my opinion on it. I'm mostly just going to be talking about, well, not really so much the system itself. There's really not much to talk about because it's basically just a more powerful Switch. But I'm going to be talking about a lot of the Switch 2 exclusive games. I'm going to be talking about Mario Kart World, Kirby Air Riders, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Pokopia, and I believe no wait, there's Mario Tennis Fever. I was gonna say that was it, but no, Mario Tennis Fever I played as well. I'm not gonna be talking about games like Tamagotchi Life Living the Dream or Legends ZA or anything else that got like a Switch 2 edition because I'm only gonna talk about Switch 2 exclusives because this is the Switch 2. And of course, this is happening right before Star Fox comes out, so I'll have to talk about that in a separate video maybe. But yeah, I'm just gonna be talking about some of the games that I've played and what I think about them and what the year has been like for me as a Switch 2 owner. So let's get started. Okay, Mario Kart World. So there is no DLC for this game yet. Kind of amazing. But that kind of makes it easy on me because that it's less things I have to worry about. Basically, I'm reviewing it as it is, as it released. I mean, there have been patches. They've made a few improvements, and stuff, but most of it's to the online and stuff like that, which I don't play anyway, so it hasn't really affected me that much. But anyway, Mario Kart World was the first game that I owned because I got it bundled with the system, of course. Because I mean, I wasn't going to pay $80 for this. I was going to pay $50. And on that subject, like the $80 thing is ludicrous, of course. But who honestly paid $80 for this? Like nobody I know paid $80 for this game. Everybody got it bundled for $50, which is actually a really good deal for Mario Kart World. So, as much as we complain about the $80, which we rightfully should, the fact that nobody really paid $80 for it kind of makes it a mute point a little bit. Like, it's more the principle of the thing. Like, they should not have done that in the first place. But anyway, I really do like Mario Kart World. Just the ability to jump and wall ride and the new gimmicks they put in was just really super fun. And I said it before, I felt sorry for Sonic Cross Worlds and any other racing game that came out after this because if it doesn't have like grinding or wall jumping or anything like that, like I don't know, it feels like a downgrade because it's just such a fun mechanic, you know? So it just made the game way much more fun and separated it from all the other Mario Karts because, that's the thing. A lot of the Mario Karts, they felt the same kind of. I really liked Mario Kart 8, but the whole anti-gravity thing didn't really do anything. It didn't really change how you play the game, but this does. The ability to jump and grind and wall ride and stuff, that changes how you know, approach the tracks and everything like that. So it was really a much better gimmick and really breathed new life into this. And it made every other racing game feel like they were stuck in the past. But yeah, I do hope they come out with more DLC because I do want more. What they gave us was pretty good, but we could use more. I could always use more, and we all know DLC's coming. We just don't know when. In terms of the open world, a lot of people have problems with the open world, like the single player open world stuff. I don't mind it too much. I spend a lot of time in it, like just driving around. It's just fun to drive around for me personally. And they do have a lot of stuff to do. Like I said, people saying that there's nothing to do in the open world, they're being facetious, I guess. I don't know what the word is, but I don't agree with that because there is a lot to do. The question is, do you want to do it? And that's up to the individual. I've done a lot of it. I mean, just driving around. Like I said, I just like driving around. If I happen to come across something like a collectible, like yeah, sure, I'll get it. I'm not compelled to do it, but I can. It's something nice to do. But like I said, I just like driving around stuff. That's just me. I find it relaxing, especially with the great soundtrack that this game has. As far as the gameplay, like I said, really really good. I think the only thing I have to complain about, aside from the intermission tracks, which apparently they fixed a little bit online, but again, I don't play online. But the other thing is, I think having, what was it, 24 drivers was a mistake because with more drivers, you need bigger like and wider roads, and it means that like it's too easy to go through these tracks. Like people say like, oh, this game would not work with a 200cc. That's total BS. Have you seen how huge these roads are? You could easily do these tracks in 200cc because it's impossible to go off track. Because they're too wide because they had to make it sure that 24 people can fit in them. So there's barely any sharp turns. There's barely anything like that. It would work fine. Hopefully they put in a 200cc eventually, like they did eventually with Mario Kart 8. Which, if it worked there, it can work here because those tracks were way, smaller and had smaller roads. So if it works there, it can work here. But yeah, that's Mario Kart World. I think it's a really fun game, really good. Really looking forward to the DLC. It's a shame that the whole $80 thing had to be there, but That's on Nintendo. They made that decision, but they also made the decision to make it $50 when bundled with the Switch. So that's also a good thing. So kind of a take the good, take the bad kind of thing. But I really like Mario Kart World personally. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now we're talking. If Mario Kart World wasn't enough of a system seller, I believe Donkey Kong Bonanza is a true system seller. It's a really special game, if you ask me. Not just from a Donkey Kong fan like myself, but as a fan of platformers. Just the way the game feels and how it plays, the destruction mechanic, everything. Just like I said, it's just amazing. I would have to go on forever and talk about every little thing to really get the point across. But I think you all know if you played it, it's just a really really fun game. And of course, it's from the Mario Odyssey team, which makes me wonder what the next Mario game is going to be like. But I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, it looks great, sounds great, plays great. I spent tons of hours playing it. There's just a lot to do. Um, they got a skill tree. They just did so much, and I wasn't sure how the whole young Pauline thing would work, but I found her to be very endearing. She was a really fun character. I hope she comes back. I don't know how, but put her in some spin-off games. Put her in Mario Kart World. Put her as an extra character in Mario Tennis Fever or something. I don't know. Just I'd like to see more of her because why not? I think she's really cute, and this game really made me like her. I wasn't much of a Pauline fan in general because there wasn't much to her, but yeah, I like her now. So yeah, and it had a great ending, which I won't spoil, but great ending. Just everything about it was great. Like I said, a true system seller, game of the year worthy, game. It might have been my personal game of the year last year. I'd have to look back and see what else I played, but this is definitely in there. So yeah, just an amazing game. If you haven't played it, play it. Now I haven't played the DLC, the Emerald Rush. Just never got around to it. Didn't really seem like my kind of thing. But whatever. So I can't judge the DLC. But as far as the base game goes, yeah, truly amazing. Kirby Air Riders. So I never played the original Air Riders, or original Kirby Air Rider, I guess is what it's called because it's Air Riders. Or Kirby Air Ride is what it's called, actually. Whatever. Point is, I never played it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like this game. But I decided to check it out, and I was pleasantly surprised. This is a really fun, polished game. Now, I don't like it as much as Mario Kart World. I do think it is a bit too simplistic, and it's a little lacking in its content. But it's still a really good game. It was really fun. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I've kind of been on a video game racing kick as of late, playing a bunch of racing games, and so my standards are kind of high. And I didn't know how this one would work out because it seemed to be so different from other racing games. But that kind of worked in its favor, aside from the simplicity, which I think, yeah, there isn't. It's a little bit too simplistic, and like I said, just not as much content as I would like in terms of like the tracks and stuff like that. But it's still really good. Fun fact: I actually had a video review of this game that never released because I made it way after launch. And I figured nobody would care, and I just didn't. I found it really hard to put into words my feelings on the game because I felt like $70 was a bit much for it because it was so simplistic, and they tried their best to give it as much content as possible, and they did pretty good. But I think it just missed out on being a $70 title. It should have been 60 personally. But hey, it looks good. It plays good. I had fun with it. I haven't played it in a while because I did everything I wanted to in it, and I don't play online. So they really needed more than one course for that big battle royal mode, whatever they called it. I forget. But was it Cityscape or something? I don't know. That's they needed more than one track because that was a really fun mode. But having to play the same track every time, yeah, it kind of hurt the replayability a little bit, especially if you played the original, because from what I understand, it was like pretty much the same thing. So it was a recycled track. There's a lot of recycled content in this game, so which was fine for me because I never played the original. But I feel like if you had played the original, you might feel a little, ripped off because it's like, well, this is supposed to be a new game, right? And there weren't enough new tracks. The new tracks were really good. They're a lot. The old tracks are way more simplistic because they had to be back then. But the new tracks were really good. But I wanted more of them because I think there was more old tracks than new ones, and that's kind of messed up. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I'm being hard on this game a little bit. But like I said, it's $70. But I still had a lot of fun with it. I still think it's a good game for sure. but I paid $50 for Mario Kart World, and that was a much better deal. Is all I'm saying. But yeah, it's still a really fun game. If I'm sure if you played the original, you will have liked this one. You probably already picked it up. If you're on the fence, yeah, I would say wait. I would say wait for a sale, but Nintendo games rarely ever go on sale. But does it have Game Share? Maybe find somebody who has it and use Game Share if it has that. But anyway, yeah, I think Kirby Air Raiders was a bit of a surprise, a pleasant surprise. Not perfect by any means, but still, I'm glad I picked this one up. It was fun. Mario Tennis Fever. Now, this is the first big misstep I think Nintendo made with the Switch 2 exclusives. So, there's a lot of problems with this game. First of all, it released way too close to the other release, which is Mario Tennis Aces, which in itself was a disappointment. I talked about how in my worst Nintendo Switch games video, which actually was more of a most disappointing Switch games more than worst, but that the Mario sports games and the Nintendo sports games in general have gone downhill in terms of quality, mainly because of the lack of content and not pricing accordingly. This was another $70 game that really did not feel like it at all. Like $60 for Aces was too much. So 70 for this was way too much. And it seems like Nintendo has seen that because this game apparently sold so terribly that they now started pricing their Switch 2 games, even their exclusive games, not at full price. So, yeah, we saw with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Star Fox that they're not $70 games despite being Switch 2 exclusives. And so, yeah. So I guess Mario Tennis Fever had to take one for the team in a way. Sucks for the people who got it because, they're still left with a game that's kind of lacking for $70, but it is what it is. If it means that Nintendo had to look at their pricing and change it, I guess it was worth it. But we'll see if that even continues. We'll see if the next Mario golf game or strikers game or whatever sports game they decide to do, if they even do any more, this might have spooked them a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I think the game plays well. Like it's tennis. How do you mess that up? And the same thing was with Aces. But the problem was that if you played all the Mario tennis games or even sports games like I have, then you know that they are capable of better. They are capable of more content, a much better story mode. The story mode in both Aces and this was incredibly lacking and just not something I wanted to do. First of all, why are you forced to play as Mario or Baby Mario in this one? Like, isn't the point of these games to play a huge roster of characters? Like, why are you forcing me into certain characters? But anyway, I haven't even completed story mode in this game. I'm not compelled to do it. I don't care. So yeah, that's one big mode already down. Like, if I don't want to do it, then it's useless, isn't it? There's no point in doing it, really. I mean, yeah, you unlock stuff, but who cares? Anyway, yeah, there's more to do here than Aces. I'll give them that, but not as much as previous games. And the story mode being so terrible, I mean, just go back and play any of the handheld Mario Tennis games made by Camelot. They were way better and way more fun to play through. You were creating your own character, and you got to use their stats and use them however you want to make your own style. Like, where's that? Where's that stuff? Even in the last Mario Golf game, at least you got to play as your Mii. You got to kind of play as your own character and stuff. It was something. It wasn't much, but it was something. Didn't force you to play as Mario, at least. So yeah, like I said, gameplay is fine. I think the Fever Rackets, though, it's kind of a. First of all, that should have been a patch in the last game because it doesn't feel like a whole thing to sell a game on. And some of them they were really running out of ideas for them to try to squeeze as many in there. Like, some of them are way better than others. Some are just freaking useless. And sometimes, especially if you have a 2v2, there's so much going on, and with all the different effects and stuff, it's hard to see what's going on and where the ball even is. And at that point, it's not even about strategy or even the rackets you're using. If you can't see the ball and what's going on, it's like, it's not even tennis anymore. So I think they kind of may have gone a bit too far. You can turn them off, of course, but then you're not using the main gimmick of the game, and you might as well be playing Aces or one of the old games or something like that. This was not, like I said, it was a misfire, if you ask me. Not a terrible game or anything, but also kind of pointless. And finally, we come to Pokemon Pokopia. Probably one of the best Pokemon games ever made, and one of the best Pokemon games on the Switch systems. Yeah, kind of funny that it's not one of the mainline games and not made by Game Freak. It was made, well, I guess in part with, what was it, Bandai Namco this time? Or was it Koei? No, it's Koei Tecmo this time, I believe. Anyway, the point is, these spin-off games are like the best Pokemon games we've been getting, sadly, because the mainline games and even some of the remakes, like, ugh. But I've talked about enough of that already in other videos. But yeah, I believe Pokopia is another must-have system seller, much like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is a system seller. It is a really good game. Of course, you have to like this kind of thing. Like if you like the mainline Pokemon games, like obviously there's not much here for you. But if you're a Pokemon fan and you like these kind of like Animal Crossing, Life Sim games where you can build stuff and all that stuff, it's really something special. It's really good, and it's actually got a really good story, under all of it if you're willing to look for it. Some people don't care about that, but it is there. And yeah, I've played tons of hours in this game. Pretty much, Mario Kart World and this game I think are the games I played the most. Donkey Kong Bonanza is probably a close third, but Mario Kart World and Pokopia obviously have more replay value for me in terms of doing stuff. Mario Kart World, you can race for as long as you want. You can drive around the open world. And this, you can build whatever you want forever. Donkey Kong has a end. It's a single player platformer and stuff, so it has an ending. But you can replay it if you want. But yeah, Pokopia, I've already talked about this game a little bit, but yeah, it's really, really good. I just loved collecting all the Pokemon, making homes for them, building my own town, and all that other stuff, because I was done with Animal Crossing for a while, but this came in and it's like, oh yeah, this is great too. So yeah, it's another surprise. I didn't know how this game would turn out, and I didn't know I'd like it as much as I did. But yeah, it's really, really good. I could go on forever, but this video's got to end sometime. And speaking of ending this video, that's basically it. Those are all the Switch 2 exclusives I played. Now, I know there are other Switch 2 exclusives like Hyrule Warriors, that new Hyrule Warriors game, which I have not played. And there are probably some other ones that I didn't play, but these are the ones I played. So there's 5 games, 3 of which I consider to be system sellers. One surprisingly good game, considering what I was expecting, because I didn't know what to expect with Kirby Air Riders, and one misfire. One game that wasn't that good. So not too bad. Not too bad. For a first year, I mean, most consoles these days have barely any exclusives. Heck, how long has the PS5 been out and people still making that joke that it has no games, even though it does have games? But the point is, yeah, Nintendo has a lot of exclusives here, and they did a pretty good job the first year. And we already have Star Fox coming out soon. We got more other Switch 2 exclusives, like that Fire Emblem game, I believe, is Switch 2 exclusive. I don't know. I don't care about Fire Emblem, so I didn't research that. But yeah, we have a lot of new stuff coming in for sure. We got Pokemon Winds and Waves coming out, next year. But yeah, I think Switch 2's first year has been really good in terms of the games. I know there's been a lot of controversy, some of which was out of Nintendo's hands, some of it was their fault. But we're not talking about those kind of things right now. Everyone's already talked about them. I'm here just talking about the games, and I think the games have really, really been good. Like I said, the first year, and you already got 3 system sellers out there, in my opinion. And not just my opinion. A lot of people have said that Mario Kart World, Bonanza, and Pokopia are system sellers, and I agree. They're both all 3 of them are very, very good. And Kirby Air Riders was great for the fans. Surprisingly fun game for what it was. Like I said, Mario Tennis not so great. Hopefully they can turn this whole Mario Sports thing around. There have been rumors about maybe a new Nintendo Switch 2 sports game. Hopefully that's way better than Nintendo Switch Sports, because that was disappointing as well. I don't know what it is. Nintendo just doesn't seem to care about sports games anymore. But whatever. So those are my opinions on those games and the Switch 2's first year in terms of its games. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.